Hey guys, welcome back to Europe vs. China Season 2, brought to you by NetEase. We're currently in Hangzhou, China to see who is going to win $60,000 and potentially a Ferrari. If you're a Chinese player and you're in the tournament, you can win this. Not this exactly, but the car that was shown. Pretty good upgrade. Although, you know what I was told, Monk? Yesterday I was told that this replica, or this Hot Wheels Ferrari, do you know how much it's worth? Don't say it. Don't say it. You say.
Is it
$100?
$100?
You say how much is it worth?
Is it $100? Is it $200?
No.
I give up then.
It's $2,000. They paid $2,000 for this Hot Wheels Ferrari 60-year anniversary relay edition. And I said, you know what? I'm really sorry, Evelyn, but I think you overpaid. And they're like, no, it's from the actual manufacturer.
And actually, not only did they have one of them,
I almost
break
opened
it.
the box. No, I opened the box when I shouldn't.
Not only do they have one of them,
it's already open too. Look, it's the book's they they sold it for $2,000 and it's already open.
I mean, we could just take that home in our backpacks, right? Sell it
I guess so.
Sell it on.
I mean, we just have to do this.
Alibaba.
And just keep showing the box, and they won't ever tell.
Okay. We could just replace it. We could do the swap, the old swap and switcheroo, right? Buy a Hot Wheels car, like a red Hot
Wheels. Swap and switcheroo. Take a look at our next coming match. We have SleepyShaman versus EntryFee. This one is probably the least known names wise. Like EntryFee, we don't know too much about. SleepyShaman is kind of a meme at this point. I'm pretty sure if you type in SleepyShaman into the chat, you'll get an emoticon.
Yeah, someone get on that. I mean, it should very well be an ESL emoticon. If you subscribe to ESL, you get that emoticon. It'd be pretty great, actually. I'd pay for that.
Well, I wouldn't. Actually, I don't actually sub to anybody on Twitch. It's just like a weird personal policy of mine. Not because I'd rather just like donate.
Yeah, that's true. Plus you work
then I
for
get
the organization.
well, because I mean I get the funny message on screen read out. That's why I want it. It's worth much more than just a rag sniper icon or something like that.
Yeah. Well, maybe to you, but that's where your priorities lie, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Take a look at EntryFee. We don't know too much about him, but I do know that he played Yu-Gi-Oh! Right in the past. Is that the case?
Possibly. I actually don't know about that.
I thought he had some prior TCG experience. Maybe that was another player. I'm not sure.
But EntryFee. Well, first of all, let's talk about SleepyShaman. He is a shaman. He is very sleepy, but he did not bring shaman to this tournament. Previously, not yet, exactly. Before the tournament, a lot of the Chinese players were talking to him, and they're like, "Hey, are you gonna bring shaman?" He's like, "Yeah, probably. It's like my favorite class. My name is shaman." It's basically like me if the class monk came out and I just never played monk.
Yeah, really bad foresight on your end. You should have picked rogue or something as your name.
I'd be imbalanced. Speaking of rogue is going to be the first deck coming from SleepyShaman, and EntryFee will be playing mage. What kind of mage? We don't know yet. But you know what? Actually, I was, again, talking to a lot of the European players, and they told me that they really wanted to play freeze mage in this metagame, but they realized that the Chinese players played too many Kazan Mystics. So at least SleepyShaman in his games, we didn't see any Kazan Mystics for him. So he might play freeze mage, but no, of course we see mech mage. From
if your name was rogue, I don't think it quite rolls off the tongue. Like when they say who the fuck is rogue. Or I still don't know who the fuck rogue is.
True. That is true. I think I basically named myself based on those quotes.
Yeah.
What would sound better in that situation? Who the fuck?
All right, here we go. Rogue versus the mage. Now we saw this earlier, and I hope that guy's okay. Looks like a little accident happened over there. Mage, it gets a pretty strong start, and having cards like Snow Chugger is pretty valuable, tucked behind an Annoyotron. If you keep the rogue stalled, it was very difficult to pick up really easy trades, and then cards like Deadly Poison and even the oil as the game develops become a lot weaker.
This hand from EntryFee is just one of the best you can start off with. He not only gets two of the best starting mechs against rogue, or at least the Snow Chugger is one of the better mechs. He also gets two of the best 3-drop in this deck and the best 4-drop in this deck. We see a lot of players like Tice and Life Coach, for example, they actually keep Blast Mage in their opening hands when they're playing Mech Mage just because of how strong and overpowered it is in this deck, even though you can't play it in the first few turns. Almost certainly going to be a Snow Chugger. Chugga. SleepyShaman shaking his head a bit.
Yeah, that's definitely not what he wanted to see. No easy way to deal with it.
Probably the best open. I mean, that's even better than a Mech Warper to open up.
Does he get rid of it now this turn using sap or even like weapon up and then get the weapon charge out of the way?
Well, I guess he decides to sap just because of how good it is.
Jeez.
Oh, Mech
Warper. So this allows him to squeeze in 1 extra mana this turn, or yeah, effectively, or next turn rather. Yeah, this turn he sets it up and then establishes Mech Warper with a cheaper minion next turn.
I think you still throw down a Snow Chugger though. You saw your opponent sapped it, so you know that it's really threatening for him. And then next turn you can go with the Mech Warper into a Noatron play.
For sure.
This is especially good because if your opponent uses a Deadly Poison on this turn, then basically the weapon will not only be frozen, but it'll be at 3 attack. So the weapon will have a really hard time getting through the Noatron Divine Shield.
Right. Divine Shield's so underrated as a mechanic in Hearthstone. So effective sometimes, or in this case, annoying. Just because, like, without Feint of Knives, how are you supposed to deal with it?
Yeah, especially against some other classes like Warrior, for example. They just don't really have anything to that effectively deals 1 point of damage to a single creature without buffing it. Like Cruel Taskmaster, Whirlwind, of course, those are obvious picks, but not really what you want. especially Divine Shield plus Taunt. Sunwalker, for example, is a notoriously great card against Warrior.
Or just weapons in general. It's so strong. It's too bad that Sunwalker has been like cycled out because Sludge Belcher is effectively Sunwalker, but just a little bit less stats.
It's true.
Or maybe even more stats, depends on how you look at it.
Mech Warper isn't going to do too much work here, unfortunately. But it'll probably still stay alive, perhaps.
Yeah, I think he was hoping that he'd be able to do more damage to the Farseer than that.
So do you play around Blade Flurry here?
Yeah, but you still have the Mech Warper reducing the cost of 2 of those minions. Does it really help that much? I mean, next turn the best you could do to like utilize the Mech Warper would be to play the Spider Tank and Hero Power.
Okay,
play the Pilot Shredder and Hero Power.
This is going to be a pretty great turn.
Oh man, look at this.
So you definitely don't want to sap the Blast Mage. But do you go for the Blade Flurry? The Blade Flurry essentially gets rid of Divine Shield and kills the Blast Mage. I like that a bit because it gives you board presence and forces your opponent to deal with the Drake. And as you can see from EntryFee's hand, he can't deal with the Drake right now, so he'll have spell power over the next few turns.
Yeah, you have 2. I think it's fun.
Archmage Antonidas. Okay.
Pretty important card, just for the reach damage to finish the game. But it's gonna have to sit this one out for a while. How important is a card like Mirror Entity against Rogue, Monk? It's gonna call you Morg.
A combination of Monk and Rogue. Mirror Entity, it can be okay against Rogue. It really depends on whether the Rogue draws the South Sea Deckhand and whether he runs what are the 3/2s called? The Goblin Auto Barbers. That's kind of a tech card in Rogue these days, specifically against Mirror Entity, in fact. Especially because if you have a dagger in hand and you play the Goblin Auto Barber, it buffs your weapon to 2 attacks. So you can use that weapon to actually clear the Mirror Entity Goblin Auto Barber.
So not good. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. Basically, there's Dalnos that your opponent can copy. There's South Sea Deckhand.
Okay.
And other than that, like, it's alright. But I mean, it's much better against decks like Druid, for example.
Well, sapping this Tinkertown Technician gives the Rogue tempo, but still going to be struggling to finish the game. If Mage can clear this board and there's not enough draw to follow it up, there's still that Thaunos that has the Death Rattle effect. And it's kind of unusual, right? Isn't the Mage the one supposed to be unloading the hand and then pressuring on board? And then, like, top decking the answer to win?
Yeah, typically that is what happens against other decks. But Rogue is also a deck that just tries to unload his hand as fast as possible and then draw into their sprint right when they run out. And I think it has a lot to do with basically SleepyShaman drawing both saps. Sap is a card that it gives you a lot of tempo advantage, but you lose card advantage, and then that's exactly what we see on the board right now.
Alright, what's the best course of action here? I like dropping the Shredder because it's stickiness, but I also like double 3-drop here. Spider Tank and Tinkertown doesn't feel like it'd be a bad move at all, in fact, the more I think about it.
I like double 3-drop a little better as well.
Yeah, you put out the most stats. The problem with the Shredder is that you just don't have a really good follow-up. You can ping Thaunos, but... oh my goodness. Jeez.
SleepyShaman actually shook his head after that draw. It's actually not really what you want.
Why not? It's so much damage for the next turn.
Oh, that's true. Actually, yeah,
maybe he's shaking his head because he's like, just, you know, he's in awe of how good he is at Hearthstone. Yeah, I certainly am.
It actually is pretty good.
But in all seriousness, I think that's a pretty effective draw. As long as he just picks up another thing that can combo with it, right? If he picks up a 5-drop, he can't actually use the Sharpwood Oil.
Well, even if he doesn't combo, it still represents a lot of damage.
Yeah,
that's an 8 damage weapon, or a 4 damage weapon that can hit twice. And I have a sneaking suspicion that the Azure Drake is going to stay alive this turn, next turn. I think EntryFee is definitely considering the Rusty Horn in his hand. He has to give something taunt.
Yeah, what does he want to give it to, though? Like the Mad Scientist, so you can force the secret to be popped? Or is it more health on the...
So this is the more defensive play.
Depends on what secrets he has, too, other than Mirror Entity. Prep.
Guess that's okay.
Is that potential? Oh, it depends what he gets off the Thaunos, right?
Yeah. Depends what this hits.
Potentially lethal if the Thaunos draws. Wow. The Thaunos draws into damage like Eviscerate.
Nope.
No.
Still not bad.
Oh no. Man. That could have potentially set the Violet Teacher to be too expensive. Snow Chugger's not going to be that useful here.
So usually this would be a really good draw from EntryFee because he drew all his minions and he curved out really well. But right now, he's the one on the defensive, so he really actually wants Fireballs and Frostbolts to control the board.
Yeah. I think he's dead.
Yeah, none of these things...
Unless there's a secret. Is there a secret that you can get off the Mad Scientist? I mean, maybe he doesn't want to show any more information if the game's over for him.
Yeah.
So he passes, or rather he concedes, and game 1 goes over to SleepyShaman. Wow. SleepyShaman, I mean, I wasn't begging him to go far in the tournament, but if he wins here and he's in the round of 4 against Colento, he could be the one upsetting and getting past 3 Europeans in the round of 8 in order to potentially guarantee a Chinese versus Chinese finals.
Yeah, he's definitely a resident sleeper in this tournament. Actually, I've hung out with SleepyShaman a bit before, and he's actually, of course, a lot of these players are not full-time Hearthstone players. In fact, SleepyShaman is actually in school right now, training to be an airplane mechanic. I asked him...
That's actually very useful.
Yeah.
He's going to actually do things with his life.
I asked him...
Unlike me and you, which all we do is play a card game on a computer.
Exactly, and talk about that card game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I asked him, can you fix cars? He's like, no, I can't fix cars. Can you fix helicopters? I'm like, no, I can't really fix helicopters.
He can't?
He can't. So
well, then what's the point, Monk?
All he can fix is airplanes. So I'm like, Okay, I guess that's useful.
Can you figure out how to like make airplane food not suck? Because if he could do that, then I'll propose to him on the spot and get him his green card in America, because that'd be amazing.
That's true. I mean, it really depends on what airlines.
I think California is open to that possibility.
What airlines have you been riding on these days? I mean, some airlines have actually pretty good food.
I don't know. I think Lufthansa is actually on strike, and that's what I flew in on.
Oh,
so my condolences to anybody that's actually like watching this and their planes are delayed.
All right, so yet another good matchup for EntryFee, or like this is a good matchup at least. The key card in this matchup is the Mirror Entity, and it's so good that you can even afford to play it on turn 3.
It's so disruptive, right? Because
Exactly.
well, I mean, does he want that off the Mad Scientist technically? Unless he has a Kirin Tor Mage.
Yeah. Almost certainly he won't have a Kirin Tor Mage in this kind of deck though. But actually, like, this usually is a really bad hand, the Mech Mage hand, because he has 2 Mirror Entities in his hand. But against Druid, it's probably the best case scenario for having 2 Mirror Entities in your hand. It's the best class to be against. Basically, you need to either have a Zombie Chow or Kazan Mystic in your hand when a Mirror Entity is up as a Druid player, or you're just in a lot of trouble. Oh man. So the Zombie Chow is going to kill off a Cogmaster. Pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a big whiff. Pretty... it's just like awful, just because you miss 2 turns and then Druid gets to play things for 2 turns. Or gets time to set up.
This is the saddest turn I've ever seen. Zombie Chow.
Yeah.
So not only is... The thing is, most players in Druid, they only run one Zombie Chow, so this is especially lucky for SleepyShaman if he's also running that 1 Zombie Chow.
Well, I mean, it could have been a little bit better. Imagine if he had Wild Growth right now, Monk. But he's got a good curve with the coin on 3, 4, 5, and then coin into the Ancient of Lore.
I think he's definitely considering...
Does he want to put out the Shade here now?
Yeah. Oh, no, I guess not.
Yeah, I think respecting the curve is a little bit better. You got time to breathe, right? If you take 2 mana for hero power, it still gives you time to play the Shade for only 1 mana minion that can come out on the other end.
So we're probably going to see the Mirror Entity right now. One interesting interaction about within Mirror Entity and the Shade is that your opponent's Shade, or the Shade that comes off the Mirror Entity, will always grow slightly faster.
Right.
So that's pretty good, I'd say. But it's at the same time, it's one of the weakest minions that you can get off of Mirror Entity from the Druid player.
It's true. It's no Zombie Chow, at least. And back over to EntryFee. He will have the Pilot Shredder on curve as well. That's a drop that he would have needed much earlier. And that's part of the danger too of drawing the way he has, is that as the game develops, he might not be able to use all of his mana because he's going to be drawing the lower, or the very beginning of his curve, like all of his mech warpers when there's only like 1 mech in his hand.
Yeah, exactly. In a lot of Mech Mage games, we do see that the Mech Mage ends up top decking for the last 3 or 4 turns. And they're basically always looking for a Frostbolt or a Fireball. We saw this in Tice versus his opponent Magic Wind the other day when he was playing Mech Mage against Handlock. Tice actually did draw a spell as his last card, but unfortunately it was the wrong spell. He drew Frostbolt when he really needed Fireball.
Well, there's also the thing where Tice was talking about, did he ping the right minion? Or, there's a scenario, did he ping the face instead of a minion? Wow, look at that. Flametongue Totem. Buffing up that Shade of Next Ramps. It's going to be a 6/4 next turn. I mean, a lot of those what ifs, ands, or buts always run through the mind when you're playing, but I couldn't really blame Tice. I think the one instance where it was like he could have pinged the face instead of kill off a Iron Beak Owl, but almost every scenario is correct to ping that owl, right? So
yeah,
you can't really blame him for that.
So EntryFee has a choice of moves here. The Flametongue Totem actually doesn't end up being too impactful. I mean, it is 2 extra damage right now if he decides to reveal his Shade. but but I mean,
it's like annoying enough though that like one, the zombie chow couldn't pick it off.
Yeah.
And then two, Druid has to dedicate either attack or damage missed, or a hero power of 2 mana somewhere else.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I think EntryFee would have much preferred like pretty much anything else. For example, a vanilla 2/2 might have been better. Like this Flametone Totem basically didn't do anything.
Well, gained him 4-6 health ish.
Oh,
not Pagel. I mean, what does that even hit? That shade is a Ravenholt assassin, by the way.
That's true. Now, the Nat Pagel is actually very relevant here because it can tank a lot of Goblin Blastmate
Takes
shots.
7 damage. Yeah, you're right. And if you feel like it's a big threat that you want to eliminate as a card, it's pretty annoying.
It also tanks a lot of Boombot hits, so it's actually, yeah, like you said, very annoying.
It's a golden Pagel too. It's not going to miss.
That's right.
If there's any lesson that we've learned from Artosis, outside of the way Execute works, it's how a golden Pagel operates, Monk.
Yeah, I've learned firsthand.
Oh, that's right! That's right. People that may have not remembered this, but the person that Artosis was playing when he infamously tried to execute a Sylvanas was Monk.
That's true.
That's right.
A lot of people try to tell me this story too, and I'm like,
they're like, yeah,
yeah. I know
well,
this
you should let them. You should let them.
I should let them and just smile.
And then you should be like, you should do, Monk. You should be like, oh, really? Show me the VOD. And then they see you on it, and then they're like, oh, okay, cool. You knew the whole time. You just wanted me to embarrass myself.
Wow,
of course, you look like a jerk, and then
you're such a dick, Monk. Just want me to be that guy.
Well, this gives initiative to the mage. Can just plop down the Lotheb in a Snow Chugger or a Mech Warp or whatever he wants to do in tandem with it.
Yeah, that's true, but the big issue is that the Druid is still at essentially 30 health. Like, this actually might be the first game where I've seen turn 7 from the Mech Mage against the Druid, and the Druid is still at full health. EntryFee does have initiative, but Ragnaros might come down next turn, and Ragnaros will get a lot of damage in.
Well, it depends on if he's dropping a lot of small minions versus like a fewer minions. Lotheb does put out a sick amount of stats, and Goblin Blast Mage doesn't really do much on a board that's empty. If this is the face, is that good or bad? It's probably bad, right?
Yeah, probably bad for the Druid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey. He's doing the rag dance, the rag ritual. Will it work?
Is he gonna mouse over something? Rub it a bit?
Oh. That's a field goal. Well, this suddenly got interesting.
Well, I think a lot of minions are coming down on this turn.
See what the Goblin Blast Mage hits. If it's 3 on rag,
yeah,
that'd be pretty significant. Even 2 on rag.
Okay, so
You can ping.
How defensively does EntryFee want to play?
Rag is just a big threat, man. Such a big threat. You gotta take it out. You already have 5 damage on board with the Goblin Blast Mage, which is huge. Do you even have another secret, or do you want to put Snug Choker out?
With this play, I think if he's basically saying I don't have another secret.
Okay.
I think like 99% of mech mages only play 2 mirror entities.
Okay.
And then you have Lothar.
Lothar?
Lothar. Lothar, he, in the Kingwin for Charity Tournament, he played a counterspell. And it kind of threw Life Coach off, but
Well, I already know the end of that story.
Yeah. Basically what happened was they were playing a mech mage mirror, and Lothar got up a counterspell. So Life Coach just used a spare part.
I see. Okay, well, this is what we warned about earlier in the game, that he's just going to be drawing his lower cost minions versus cards like his Azure Drake that he would have wanted to get at this stage.
Usually at this stage of the game, it's kind of like these board states, but the Druid is at a much lower HP, and you can depend on something like a Fireball or a Frostbolt to end the game. Interesting, freezing the Sylvanas. I like that.
Yeah. Just trying to squeeze out as much damage as possible.
Next turn, he can even consider reversing switching the Sylvanas to make it have more toughness and not be able to steal anything.
I mean, he's not playing around Savage Roar and Force of Nature, but you know, I don't think you can afford to, right? You're giving up your only chance to win if you just trade into Lotheb. 2 taunts, by the way. I mean, I see some people play Flame Strike and Mech Mage when it's like when you just first start the ladder season, because I don't really think they have cards like Dr. Boom sometimes, so they play like Flame Strike. But I really don't think it's possible that he has like a big way to AoE clear this, because that's just so much damage on board.
It's interesting that both Druids of the Claw went into charge form. I guess that's slightly better against Fireball, perhaps. It also lowers it kills off both mechs on the field, so it lowers the Cogmaster's attack. Now, how defensively do you play? If EntryFee is keeping track of his opponent's hand, then he still knows he has the coin. So maybe he's thinking, oh, my opponent's top decking too. Maybe I can just play the control game and win from there.
Yeah, he has a board clear, but it costs all of his cards, like every single one of them. I think you're gonna just try to see if you can get Fireball. If you have enough time, that is. I mean, there's also the case where he realistically might not have enough health points to afford that. Especially that Ancient of Lore coming down here.
Savage Roar. So I think you go for drawing cards here.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, if SleepyShaman has been keeping track of his opponent's cards, then he knows there's pretty much only a spare part in EntryFee's hand.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting. I'd like to see SleepyShaman actually keep the BGH, because I think the only way he can lose at this point is if Dr. Boom comes out, to be honest.
Well, he's got Savage Roar. If his opponent Dr. Booms,
that's
he
right.
Savage Roars for the win. So I think at that point it's irrelevant for the board state.
Very
You
fair.
just go for the game-winning blow. But in normal cases, I think you're right. And looks like that's it, right? There's pretty much nothing you can do here. He's just going to concede, and EntryFee goes down 0-2. That Mech Mage not working out for the Swiss.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Just a few months ago, or even 1 month ago, Mech Mage was considered one of the best decks in the meta. In fact, on the Tempo Store meta report, I think it was ranked like number 2 or 3 at one point.
What? Which one?
Mech Mage.
It was ranked number 1 at one point.
Number 1 at one point, yeah.
But it
But
was back when Magic Amy was playing against a lot of Mech Mage, and she was like, "Ah, this is the worst deck ever." She hated Mech Mage.
most people do. But these days, we've seen Mech Mage just lose consistently, and I think it's a lot because a lot of people are teching against Mech Mage. We see many more Kazam Mystics in decks than before, and it seems like just seems like Mech Mage just isn't as strong. It's not a deck that is kind of like an auto-include to tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you even do here? The remaining deck from SleepyShaman's Paladin, and if you have Druid, Paladin, and Mage. Can those 3 win against Paladin? Like, all of them?
Well,
I mean, Paladin versus Paladin, of course, that can happen. Druid versus Paladin is a yes, but it depends on how the early game pans out. Like, if there's a really nasty Quartermaster, Druid has a hard time fighting back from that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Mech Mage can win against anything if he just falls into the sickest draws.
yeah. What Hyped actually told me recently is that Paladin has the highest win rate out of all classes in GVG. So it stands
like
to reason.
Ever? Ever since GVG came out?
Yeah, ever since exactly.
Like Blizzard told him that?
No,
Or did he like...
He found out somewhere. I don't know. In tournaments. So it's
mysterious.
probably a statistic that he can
yeah.
he can find out pretty easily. So yeah, it stands to reason that if Paladin has like an way above average win rate in tournaments, then he should be able to at least take one deck off of EntryFee.
Okay. Fair enough. Here we go. Druid versus Paladin for game number 3. We might see our first 3-0 of the tournament, Monk.
That's true. Every match so far has either been 3-1 or 3-2. On the first day, we had 3 3-1s, and then the next few matches were 5 3-2s in a row.
6.
6-3. Okay, yeah, true. 6 3-2s in a row.
No, it was actually 5. Calento versus Stancis goes 3-1.
I hate you. I hate you. Okay.
I know. I hate you too, buddy.
Aww. I'm just kidding. I love you. So how threatening is this Zombie Chow? Threatening enough to coin a Wrath? I don't think so.
Not. I mean, the Zombie Chow. I mean, he's got cool shorts, but that's about it.
I think I own a pair like that. He's got a cool shirt too, actually.
I don't think you're helping our case with the chat's accusing us of, Monk.
Okay.
By liking that tank top. EntryFee. Now there's actually a threat that he wants to deal with, right? That Knife Juggler is absolutely devastating in certain scenarios if you leave it up. So wrathing it makes complete sense. And then, how does your curve fill out from the rest of the turns? You got a triple 5-drop, which is pretty decent late game, because then Druid can go for those 5 drops, which are pretty strong and control the board. But how would you recommend going about the next couple turns for EntryFee?
I think this turn, let's see what he draws first, but this turn seems like a simple Zombie Chow plus Hero Power. If you coin out the 4-drop here in the Pilot Shredder, then you pretty much don't have a turn next turn, or you definitely won't be able to fill out your curve next turn. And I think keeping control of these 1/1s is pretty important over the course of the next few turns. Also, on the next turn, you have the option to play your Piloted Shredder, or you have the option to play any of your 5 drops, depending on the situation on the board.
Sure.
I think Harrison Jones could even be a pretty good option.
Yeah.
And even the Sludge Belcher, we're probably going to see the Piloted Shredder coming down from SleepyShaman, so Sludge Belcher could also be a very good option. Just to contest pretty much everything on the board.
Yep, solid positioning as well.
Exactly.
You want to do put in the middle of minions. Some players, like we were telling Tice yesterday, like you want to put your Pilot Shredders between minions in case the Flame Tongue Totems or the Direwolf Alpha ends up coming out. Even with Pilot Sky Golem too, you want to make sure to do that as well, because if you get like a spell Wii Stopper, you want to have it in the middle of minions.
Good advice. Good advice. I guess
I know, because I've messed up a few times while it's like, it doesn't really matter if I place it. In fact, I was playing Shaman, and I was playing Pilot Shredder, and I put it on the end because of Death Rattle and the Flame Tongue Totem, and then of course I got caught.
Well, I guess I was gonna say, I guess that's why you won your caster show match.
Aw, thanks, buddy. Pilot Shredder could test the board pretty well. I guess he doesn't really feel like Harrison would be good as a board presence, considering that the Pilot Shredder is up there.
Yeah, I feel like you don't really care too much about the cards that you can get off of Harrison.
Right.
You have an Azure Drake in your hand, and you also have an Ancient of Lore, so I think you're going to be okay in cards. I think what you... Oh!
That is the worst scenario. There's nothing better than Millhouse, right? I guess if he played Ancient Watcher, and he's like, oh dang, an Ancient Watcher, maybe he signs it.
I think maybe Doomsayer would be pretty bad, actually, and
that's true. Doomsayer would
Explosive Sheep would also be bad. So maybe the third worst.
Okay. I stand corrected, Monk. What did he say in Chinese? Was it well played or well met?
Oh, I didn't read that, but probably well met, I'd say.
Can you read Chinese?
I can read about 300 words. So
pretty
that's
good.
like hi, bye.
That's like 298 more words than me.
What can you read? Well, I'm sure you know 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so I already just named 3 words, so
Alright.
Frodan lied.
I don't know what 3 is.
Like, to be honest, most of the words I do know are like the numbers and then pronouns.
I guess, you can count, I suppose. So I guess you won't miss lethal if you have a Chinese client then.
It's true. Although the Chinese client does use
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That was the joke.jpg. Alright.
Thanks.
EntryFee, he's on 5 mana here. Setting up a defensive. I mean, he's going to be on the defensive, right? It seems like this is more of the aggressive approach, being able to drop so many minions early on. In fact, he's not even like hero powering to take it slow. He's playing the shielded mini boss so he can grab board tempo.
I wonder why he played the Druid of the Claw here instead of the Piloted Treader, because the Piloted Treader can test everything on the board just as well. Plus, it's one more health essentially.
Yeah, I like that he's being a little bit more liberal with his health early on, just so for the sake of protecting these 1/1s. Always threatening the Quartermaster.
EntryFee is gonna look at that. He's gonna be very happy seeing that his opponent did have to skip a turn. Swipe. There we go.
Yeah, swipe's pretty clutch. What does he do after that, though? It looks like he doesn't have enough mana for anything else.
You could just hero power the shielded minibot. I'd be pretty happy with that.
You know, it'd be really funny if he swiped the Pilot Shredder and then another Millhouse Mana Storm came out, just like tit for tat.
Oh,
it's pretty bad. Dang. I mean, SleepyShaman's happy, of course, and he has the muster for battle synergy, Monk.
Oh man.
Oh dude.
EntryFee's gonna need another swipe.
Oh baby. Oh, don't do that. Do the muster for battle. Make him feel really bad. Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, that's definitely the more mana efficient play. Can't really blame him. Plus, it puts out equal amount of stats anyways.
The problem is, I don't like that play as much because you have the healing from Lay on Hands that you're almost certainly going to use on turn 8. Plus, so basically with this minion on the board, it's pretty much a minion that's worth about a 2 or a 3 drop. And I feel like getting the weapon out from Muster for Battle and the 3/1/1s is more valuable than getting a 3/3. Basically, the health I feel is fairly irrelevant.
I do like the idea that you're constantly threatening Quartermasters. So it's like if he doesn't have swipe, he's in trouble.
Like, yeah, as a Druid player here, I feel much less threatened. This is a...
he's confident enough to even just draw up Ancient of Lore right here. Innervate. I guess he could take out the 1/1 if he feels like denying that. Holds onto it.
Okay, so he draws something that he can actually play that's not Lay on Hands.
Right.
Okay, so this actually makes a bit more sense. He was saving the Muster for Battle so that Knife Juggler could hit stuff on the Ancient of Lore. Slightly worse against Keeper, but I think it's still fine.
Well, he gets 2 juggles to the face, so that's very close to killing his opponent, but he's pacing himself. An EntryFee, I mean, he could be on his last turn if he doesn't have a way to swing it right now. Sylvanas isn't it. And he's going to have this Drake go fishing for swipe. That might be his best option here. Or can he heal himself out of range? Let's see. 7, 10, 11 damage. Yeah, he'd be out of range as far as he knows.
I like something like... I prefer something like Azure Drake, and if you don't draw that swipe, you can just throw up a Sludge Belcher too. I think that feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Or you know what? Actually, Harrison Jones maybe.
But the problem with Harrison is that you're gonna overdraw. You might as well just draw with the Drake, right?
That's true.
But it takes away some damage.
Well, you can.
You can innervate first.
You can innervate first.
Okay.
Then Harrison.
You'd overdraw by 1.
Yeah, I guess the 1 extra card isn't worth it. Although you do take the weapon out of the equation.
That's
just
true.
1 less damage.
1 less damage. I mean, every single point of damage matters. Sludge Belcher and then Harrison. I mean, so that way you can get rid of all the cards as much as possible.
Sludge Belcher. Yeah. Coin, innervate Harrison.
Oh, okay. Well, he didn't have to coin and innervate Harrison. Oh, I guess you're saying to draw the cards. But...
Oh, Sylvanas. Yeah. Oh. That's actually...
Is this lethal? I think so. Yeah, it should be. SleepyShaman should be able to take it. And that's going to do it for this game in this series. Entry fee gets stopped, and SleepyShaman advances to day number 4 to play Colento.
Wow, it was a really quick series. I'm really surprised that
quick.
EntryFee didn't take a game off of his opponent. EntryFee, I would say overall, he played really well in the first series against his Chinese opponent, who was Xuan, actually.
So China has one of the horses in the semifinals, and it was one of the hardest parts of the bracket too, with Colento and Stancifka. As now we take a look at the recap, as EntryFee lost 0-3, which you don't see very commonly in this tournament, or you know, just in general. Conquest feels like you have a lot of opportunities to try and narrow down something, target a weakness in a lineup, but he didn't win a single game. So he goes home with only $3,000 as opposed to winning a lot more. But more importantly, SleepyShaman still can win a Ferrari.
That's true. He's still in the running, and as far as today goes, this Ferrari will guarantee to stay in the stadium because at least one Chinese player will be left.
That's right. Gonna be pretty crazy, Monk. Just thinking about it too. You know, SleepyShaman, the way he played, didn't really feel particularly
flashy.
Yeah. I would say it's standard. But more importantly, I felt like EntryFee just had a couple games where it wasn't drawing very well.
Yeah,
like, I felt like he was victim sometimes to just poor draws, and then, you know, SleepyShaman had above average draws or like average draws.
Yeah, I would say that.
That just beat EntryFee. So it wasn't like a play difference. I think it was out of his control in a way.
Yeah, this game, it just this game was the game that EntryFee did have like somewhat of a good hand, but his opponent just the way things worked out.
Double blade flurry.
In StarCraft, we would say like the builds got crossed, like that's what Koreans usually say in interviews. So I think the game got crossed pretty much, or the hands got crossed, and SleepyShaman's hand just matched up better against EntryFee's hand. With nothing to do here,
concedes.
Yeah, he concedes.
Then he tries again, because you know, Mech Mage against Druid, pretty reasonable. Not only because of the mirror entity, but just because of how Druid usually can't deal too easily with a lot of minions that are, you know, floating with decent health, like a Goblin Blast Mage and a Tinkertown Technician. How can Druid deal with both usually? But EntryFee, remember, he drew double mirror entity in the very beginning.
Yeah, and got
off to a slow start.
Not only that, his Cogmaster got eaten up by a Zombie Chow in the opening turn. So pretty much everything that could go wrong.
Monk. I like it.
Pretty much everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong.
Yeah. And of course, that was the finishing blow there. He probably could have stayed alive, but he knew that at that point it was a lost game. And then going into game number 3, the Paladin, I mean, it was one of those scenarios again where it just felt like he was just doing pretty standard stuff, and there's just not enough answers from the Druid.
Yeah. Actually, that Paladin game kind of reminded me of a Zoo game. The Paladin just kind of unloaded his hand, curved out really well.
And Druid couldn't keep up.
Exactly.
Like, the card quality in the Druid's hand's pretty reasonable. You have the Ancient of Lore, you have Harrison against a class that utilizes weapons effectively. He even got Millhouse Mana Storm off of the Pilot Shredder.
Yeah, so I guess the luck was definitely with him in this game, but I think the key point was that he just drew Swipe too late, and his opponent drew both Muster for Battles. Yeah, like Swipe on this turn would have been great. Swipe on any of the first 5 or 6 turns would have been great, but unfortunately I think he did draw it on turn 6. There we go.
Yep. And then having a Knife Juggler pop out here was also pretty devastating.
This actually might have been even better than Millhouse Mana Storm.
You think so? Just because of all the synergy with the I mean, the Muster for Battle, that Knife Juggler threw like, what, 5-6 juggles out?
Yeah, exactly. So it probably did almost even more damage. Like, EntryFee couldn't clear it anyway.
Right. I mean, just imagine, like, that was basically what Goblin Blast Mage does, but the Knife Juggler did it over the course of 2 turns and with more damage.
Well, we're going to go into an interview with the winner, SleepyShaman, so we'll catch you.
好了，您现在所收看的是中欧对抗赛。那坐在我身边的就是刚刚获得3比0胜利的汤水之萨满。你好，汤水萨，恭喜你！
啊，谢谢龙哥。
那个萨满应该说 今天也是我们这个有史以来中国对抗赛第一次，3-0的一个比分，你对这个结果满意吗？
当然是很满意了。然后我好像针对做的还不错。
你觉得自己的发挥或者说评价一下对手的发挥怎么样？
我觉得我应该是正常表现吧，然后应该是没有什么失误，然后对手可能是牌抓的不太好吧，应该是这样。我觉得对手应该可能我也不知道他对面犯什么错误，但是应该是牌运确实不好。
确实那个机械法第1回合上齿轮大师，第2回合竟然没有那个机械随从可以跟他 combo， 也是蛮少见的。好的，那么其实萨满应该说接下去你的对手那就是我们鼎鼎大名的 K 神了。我相信这个明天这场比赛肯定是焦点之战了。你对这场比赛有什么看法？
赛前我也准备了，就是对阵克伦头的一点小准备吧。
已经有准备了。
可能明天我会放出来，应该是对。
那你应该说今天就是包括昨天那个，应该前天你的发挥还是不错的。对战克伦头的话，你能有自信的告诉我们所有的中国观众，你大概有几成把握？
这我会尽自己最大努力吧，也不能说有几成把握。我希望能有6成吧，差不多。
希望能有6成啊。好的，那么我们这个明天请大家锁定我们这个频道，看我们贪睡之下们对抗 K 神。
Okay, so this is SleepyShaman beside me. Please say hello to our audiences.
Hello, I'm SleepyShaman.
So SleepyShaman is the first player to ever win 3 games in a row. It's pretty awesome. He's a fairly young player, and he thought he did just like normally today. Well, but he did a lot of homework to aim on his opponent. Searched a lot about EntryFee, and probably EntryFee didn't have luck on his side because the starting hand was pretty bad. Like everything was stuck in his hand. So as SleepyShaman has advanced from the game, his next opponent will be a famous Konento. Well, I guess he has more homework to do, definitely. But he hopes he has a 60% win rate against Konento. That's pretty confident. So please stay tuned with us for tomorrow's tournament.
好的，那么请再次强调一下啊，明天我们牢牢锁定我们中国对抗赛，因为这一场比赛可能关系到我们这个中国对抗赛的最热门的夺冠这个之一，也有可能是我们中国选手在世界比赛当中最成名的一场比赛。好，那最后我还要问一个问题啊，就接下去下一场比赛是我们的魔法之风对抗的是弱鸡，
是小鱼
小鱼大仙人对抗的弱鸡，请问你对于这场比赛压胜负会压哪一位？
我觉得小鱼会就是更厉害一点吧，他会抓住弱鸡的弱点吧，应该是这样。
好的啊，那就是萨满比较看好小鱼。好的，那么我们告一段落，马上进行下一场的比赛。
Yeah, so next game would be Tiddler against Lovely Choke. Wow, SleepyShaman thinks Tiddler has a better win chance because he's more mature and has more experience. So let's wait and see.